Hello and welcome to 18 WJTS Inform. I'm your host, Bill Potter. Joining us through Zoom is State Representative Shane Lindauer, representing our area and many of the areas in the WJTS viewing area. State Representative Lindauer, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Bill. I appreciate the opportunity again to be here.
Let's talk a little bit about, bring us up to date, because we're past the halfway point now. So now things, you start seeing things in earnest, I guess. So talk about things that you'd like to talk about that have happened in the State House.
Yeah, so you're right. The halfway point, a lot of folks, I certainly didn't recognize this before I got into the legislature, but the first quote unquote half of session is, House introduced bills stay on the House side of things. Senate introduced bills stay on the Senate side of things. And they work their way through the process. And those bills that pass the Senate or those bills that pass the House at the halfway point, which we had last week, will then cross the chambers, so to speak. So the Senate passed bills come to us, House passed bills go to them. And essentially at that point, the whole process for that bill starts all over again. They have to be assigned to a committee, and they have to have hearings in the Senate committees, and it has to go all the way up, and so for a bill to go to the governor, it's got to work its way all the way through both chambers and pass both chambers with a majority, and before it can go to the governor. So that's where we were last week. So we're starting to see some Senate bills this week.
And many of those bills, if my interpretation is right, the House will have the same basic bill as the Senate, but there might be some variations. You just got to kind of come to terms. All right. Yeah,
that is correct. I have a bill that is that fits that mold that you just mentioned, Bill. You and I have talked a few times about a telehealth bill that I have. The Senate has a telehealth bill as well. It's very similar. And so typically, it can work out a variety of ways, when that happens, because again, a lot of similarities. Both bills are not going to get passed and become law, quote unquote. At some point, I will get together with the Senate author of their telehealth bill. And in fact, we have our first meeting Tuesday next week to kind of A/B compare our bills and get those worked out, the differences worked out, and then we can get those differences worked out in a variety of ways. We can go through the amendment process as my bill works its way through the Senate and his bill works his way through the House. We can take parts of mine that I like and parts of his that he likes and amend them. If that doesn't work, if we can't come to an agreement, the authors, by the end of session, the last 2 weeks of session typically are comprised of what's called conference committee, and that is yet another committee process where there's usually a larger group of folks who get together and try to hash out those differences. I think the author, for instance, this bill and I on the telehealth bill, I think we're trying to get our differences worked out so we can stay out of conference committee. But we'll see how things go. So,
what are some bills that you think are significant people need to be aware of that are coming out of the House or going to the Senate?
Yeah. So obviously the biggest bill is the budget bill. So it's a budget session, and so it's House Bill 1001. The budget is, I think, always it's the priority bills are for the House are 01, 1001, 1002, on up to 1009. The budget bill obviously is the biggest priority, because without passing that, nothing else can really happen. So that bill passed out of the House. It's on to the Senate, and I know they're doing some work on it now. And so we'll see what kind of changes they make, and then if they make changes, and I'm sure they will. It's not atypical for the Senate to make some changes to the budget bill. It'll come back over to us, and that's a bill that may very well go to some sort of conference committee to kind of be worked out, hashed out, because obviously it's a big bill, right? There's a lot of moving parts, a lot of components in that. So that's, I think, at this point, one of the biggest bills. House Bill 1006, which was another priority bill, like I said, that actually passed out. I think it was maybe one of the first bills to pass out of the House. It was not my bill, but it was a bill that was, I think, completely bipartisan bill. The author, Greg Stewart, worked on that bill with a couple Democrats. So it was really a bipartisan bill dealing with police and police training and just protecting the integrity of law enforcement. So it added, I'm trying to find the number here before I say it, it's $70 million to Indiana Law Enforcement Academy that upgrades their training facilities, upgrades a lot of the training they can do. It requires them to also take a de-escalation training and things like that, kind of in light of some of the recent things that have happened in our country here. So, but that was a bill that really was. It was just an interesting bill because, again, it had, I believe, if memory serves, I think it was almost unanimous bipartisan support on that one, and really was worked on, by Republicans and Democrats to get that in a good place. So that was another priority bill that passed out that I don't think you and I had ever talked about. So.
So I guess what's next is to just review some of the bills that have come from the House. From the Senate. And then work on some of the bills that you had. People get collectively together, and
yes.
Then it goes from there. Now, does the budget bill come from the House to the Senate, or does the Senate do a budget bill and pass that to the House, or is it?
No, the budget always starts in the House. Okay. It always starts in the House of Representatives, and then it'll go to the Senate side. So like I said, they'll get their crack at it, but that's one bill that always originates in the House of Representatives before it can go to the Senate. And as you said, what's next? I had one of my bills, my House Bill 1004, which was the small business grant program. I think we had talked about in days past. Bill got its hearing in committee yesterday. Actually, yesterday morning, I presented that in the Senate, and so they'll. It passed out of committee, so it'll go on to full Senate discussion, and they'll may make some changes here or there to that bill, and then if they make changes, then it'll come back to us, the House, and we'll decide if we want to accept those changes. Do we want to work on some of those changes, and so that's how the process will work. So yeah.
Okay. Well, Representative, we really appreciate you taking the time to talk with us again. Hope to talk to you again as the session goes throughout the remainder of this year.
Happy to do it. I always appreciate the opportunity, Bill.
All right. Thank you very much. Our guest has been State Representative Shane Lindauer, representing you in the WJTS TV viewing area. This has been WJTS Inform. We're local people watching local people.